Hello everyone, I promised you a long time ago to record a video on how I see the subtle plane. For a long time I hesitated and thought about the best way to explain it. Should I tell my personal story, how it happened for me, what I see, since what age I've seen it, so that someone might relate it to their own experience? Or should I just give dry facts? It seems to me that a personal story is more understandable people to people than if I try to explain in some academic, scientific terms without personal involvement, so I decided to go with a personal story, at least partially. To be honest, I never thought I would share my personal esoteric history, how things were for me. I don't think I'll tell you every adventure I've had in this life, but at least some superficial moments. I must warn anyone who is about to watch this with the attitude that I'm trying to brag or show or of who I am, please leave immediately. Don't irritate yourself or others. I'm not going to boast, I'm just sharing how it was for me. If you initially intend to watch this with a negative attitude, just turn it off. I even forbid you from watching it because these are very personal moments for me and I don't want people with that kind of mindset listening. Let's agree on that. For the rest, let's get to know each other better. I think many of you may relate to some things because the viewers here are unusual people, each with their own story. I know many of you are light bearers who have seen and heard things since childhood that you were not supposed to see or hear, who have shown abilities that might be called supernatural. I will start by telling you about myself. From childhood, I had certain manifestations. I don't remember them well myself, but my relatives told me about them. For example, they said I healed with my hands, touching someone and removing headaches or other pains. Also, when I was about 3 years old, I told my mother about my past lives, where I had lived, who I had been. Later, these memories matched the past life recollections I had at a more conscious age. So these were small things. As a child around age 5, I remember that I could see entities. My relatives believed in supernatural things like house spirits and whispered charms, so they didn't dismiss my experiences. I had strange dreams and so forth, but I wouldn't say anything super special happened until I was about 11 years old. I already mentioned briefly in an interview with Marina Molina that my most powerful awakening happened when I was about 11. I was riding a bus, looking out the window, and thinking about something, don't recall what. Suddenly, I felt as if I emerged from beneath a thick layer of water, suddenly popping up into this body, not understanding where I was, what was going on. For a fraction of a second, I lost all memory of this world and of who I was. I looked out the window and saw a dirty, ugly city, strange boxy buildings, weird humanoids walking around. I didn't understand what they were. The entire place seemed disgusting, primitive, and scary. I realized I was in a rattling metal box, the bus that seemed like it might fall apart at any moment. These thoughts and feelings rushed through me in mere fractions of a second. Then, as if downloading a memory file, all the knowledge of me, this life, and who I was flooded back in. I remembered my name is Nadia, I'm 11. These boxy things are houses, these are people, not weird humanoids, and I live here. In that moment, a synchronization occurred between my soul and my physical body. After that moment I experienced serious shifts, what people might call esoteric changes, though I think of them as natural abilities of the soul. Nothing supernatural, really just what the soul can and should be able to do. The first manifestations after my awakening involved energy. I began to feel energy, my own energy, energy in my body, how it flowed, and I could sense the energy of other living beings. At 11, this felt like a game. I'd play with energy, transferring it from one hand to another, feeling others' energies even from animals, trees, or stones. I realized that energy is universal and can be given different charges. We ourselves assign energy its qualities, whether positive or negative. Energy itself is neutral. We color it with our emotions and intentions. As I played with these properties, I learned that energy was like a universal substance we shape by our will. Around 11 or 12, I started to move beyond just feeling energies. I didn't really use cards or tools much, though I had decks of cards. I felt they were alive and inhabited by some entity, so I didn't do much with them. At about 12, I got into something else entirely. I realized I could wander through parallel worlds. I saw spatial tunnels connecting parallel realities and discovered I could travel through them. This physical world seemed boring and oppressive to me as a child, so I'd roam around these other worlds. Some were darker, some brighter. I saw structures like Stonehenge in other parallels where it actually worked and people performed rituals. They once noticed me, panicked, and I fled. Some parallels were more vibrant and alive. I visited both light and dark worlds. But since I was just a child, I treated it like a game, not understanding the seriousness of what I was doing. Eventually, the Universal Office, the higher management of this universe, restricted my ability to roam parallel worlds because I was meddling irresponsibly, causing trouble. By age 14 or 15, I received a serious reprimand at the soul level and lost the ability to jump between parallels. Even then, I always knew how to reach the cosmic Kofus of this universe, which we might call the Registry or the Council. I knew mainstream theories about life after death or spiritual realms were way off. I even ventured into places people might call, saw how some souls end up in grim lower levels. These places were dark, multi-layered, like bizarre subterranean vaults. I went there secretly once, just out of curiosity, and realized it was dangerous. I also learned that beings in these realms detect souls by their light, which explained how darkness identifies targets. Over time, I also saw the truth about so-called guardian angels and realized they weren't what popular culture claims. Similarly, I was never naive. Even as a child, I distrusted strange entities I encountered. I never blindly believed any being that showed up to tell me how the world works. My cautious skepticism served me well and probably led me to where I am now. I realized that at the core of all communication was a universal language of energy. All souls communicate through energy and intention, not words. On the subtle plane, language isn't Russian, English, or any human tongue. It's pure energy, pure feeling. No one can lie in that language because energy always reveals its true nature. Dark entities can disguise themselves, but their energy signature can't lie. Once you learn to read energy, you can see through any illusion. As a child, I could sense everyone's intentions and emotions. I thought everyone could do it. I was shocked to learn later that most people don't feel the emotions or energies of others at that deep level. To me, it was natural. This empathic perception was a given, and learning that it wasn't normal for others surprised me. I compared my stable emotional state with the wildly fluctuating emotions of others. Their emotions seemed exaggerated, more like energy feeding frenzies by parasitic entities. At the time, I didn't fully grasp what was happening with attachments and energy draining. I saw entities feeding on people, but I didn't understand why no one stopped it. I complained to the cosmic office, how can this be allowed? People are being devoured by these creatures without even knowing it. Why is this permissible? I felt immense frustration. I knew our parallel reality was somehow taken over or corrupted, and I had a historical understanding of how it happened. But full conscious realization of the entire grim scenario only hit me around 2020. Before that, I had knowledge without deep emotional comprehension. Perhaps my soul shielded me from full awareness until the right time, so I could live somewhat peacefully. Seeing the subtle plane while understanding so little was painful. Watching people suffer under invisible predation, knowing it was wrong but feeling powerless to change it was tough. A friend of mine who perceived these inconsistencies as well couldn't handle it emotionally and took his life. It's psychologically challenging, and I wouldn't wish anyone to suddenly see all this horror without preparation. Now, with ongoing energetic transformations, at least we know things are getting better and we have a purpose. Back then, I only knew I came here to do something very important in the future, but not what. I lacked context, so it was hard. Yet I preferred seeing the truth rather than living in illusions. Regarding practices like leaving your body or traveling in other dimensions, I must clarify that early on, my parallel wandering involved full exits from my body, which isn't the correct or intended method. Properly, you shouldn't leave your physical body unconscious and wander. Instead, you should learn to maintain awareness in multiple bodies or states at once. Spontaneous full exits are risky. As I grew older, around 18, I learned to perceive chaos energy, the foundational particles of matter. I saw reality as constantly moving, not static. I could see matter dissolving into particles and reassembling. I understood that physics as we know it is incomplete, and that we ourselves influence matter. Sometimes I saw black specks in 2012 when something strange was happening energetically. Everyone else was oblivious, but I perceived dark energy as black flakes filling the air. It was terrifying. People often lose their subtle vision out of fear. If they see something scary as children, they shut it down. I believe it's better to see the truth, no matter how uncomfortable. Being blind to it doesn't make it go away. Our normal state should be to partially retain this connection, like being in two places at once, physical and subtle, without fully leaving the physical body. With practice, concentration, and stable emotions, anyone can start perceiving subtle layers, from seeing one's own hand's aura on a white surface to eventually perceiving more complex energetic patterns. If you want to see the subtle plane, you need a clear intention. Simply sitting and waiting for something to appear won't work. You must ask yourself what you want to see or understand. Then focus and grab the energetic thread of that event, person, or situation. Every event, every person leaves an energetic trace. By catching this energetic thread, you can decode information about it. It's not a verbal conversation, but a feeling, an empathic perception. Translating that feeling into words or images can be challenging, especially if you lack certain conceptual knowledge. Still, with practice it becomes easier to read these energies and interpret them in a way you can understand and explain. With enough experience, you can do things like guessing games, reading people's characters or life situations from a minimal energy trace like a name or a photo. However, it's not always easy. Misinterpretations can happen. But once you remove blockages, disconnect from parasitic attachments, and free your soul's natural perception, all of this comes naturally and easily for a soul of higher order. Reading subtle information, perceiving energy, and communicating via this universal energy language is simpler than you might think once you are free of interference. Practice helps you become more confident and faster in interpretation. You can do many things, view past lives, recall memories, interact with animals and nature telepathically. Over the years, I realized that I didn't need esoteric books or teachings. I just lived it daily. I never planned to teach anyone or open a school. I just existed in this reality, using my abilities to help people occasionally if needed. But times have changed. Now I see that people can benefit from what I know. Perhaps I was waiting for the right time. Now I share this knowledge on my channel. Many of you are starting to see subtle truths, and together we're doing something important. I've always known we came here for a reason. From a young age, I knew I was ancient, that I had many past lives, and that I came here to do something crucial at a certain time. None of these so-called gifts or abilities were just handed to me. They are the result of long, hard work by the soul across many lifetimes. No one gives you these powers. If it's a gift from a dark source, it comes at a terrible price. True abilities are earned and can't be taken away because they are part of you. They are your own accumulated knowledge and skill. So remember that. I hope my story gave you some insight and helped you understand what the subtle plane is. I wish you all the best. I hope you open your true abilities and start seeing the subtle plane as well. Take care, everyone, and goodbye. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share my channel. Become a member of my Telegram channel and discuss with like-minded people as a supporting club member.